Hey, welcome to Columbine United Church's first ever virtual classroom. It is great to have you here participating with us. I'm very excited about this. You have wanted me to do this, and I've been wanting to do this for quite some time. So let me tell you what we're going to do. This is going to be basically about a 10 to 12 minute video. I want you to watch the video. I have 4 questions that I want you to think about, and then I want you to go to the Facebook page, Columbine United Church's Facebook page, and interact with the Facebook page by answering the questions, and then other people answer questions, and then Justin and I will jump on as well. This class is going to be based on Rob Bell's book, Love Wins. So I really want to encourage you to go get the book, and each class is going to be based upon a chapter at a time. So for this class, as kind of obvious, read the first chapter, and then again answer these questions. Let me first tell you a little bit about Rob Bell, who Rob Bell is. Rob Bell is the founding pastor of Mars Hill Bible Church in the Midwest, one of the largest churches in the United States. And the very exciting thing about Rob is that he is, I think, a prophet for our age, especially a prophet within the evangelical community. He is a very articulate person. He's a very great writer. Tim James, a member of the church, and we went to go hear Rob Bell when he came here to Denver. And as soon as he came on stage, he's a very humble guy, but he has this charismatic presence that you know you're in the presence of somebody who is brilliant, somebody who's a genius. And the first time I read his book, Velvet Elvis, about 6 years ago, I thought to myself, this guy has written down everything that I have ever thought about. And he has captured in words what I've always believed. And so I was very excited about Rob Bell and reading every book that he's published. He put together a series of videos that are called Pneuma videos. And every video that he put out there, little 10, 12-minute videos, I thought, man, I want to get these and I want to watch them and show them to other people because they dealt with really powerful spiritual issues. So when it came out that Rob had published this book, Love Wins, I just thought this is going to be so exciting because he's going to be dealing with a cutting-edge concept, and that is universal salvation, that God's love is going to win over and embrace everybody. Well, I was completely taken aback when I found out all the uproar that this book was causing. And if you have followed contemporary Christian culture at all, you've known some of the uproar that he was on. He was on Time magazine. I think it was even on the cover of Time magazine, and there was articles about the controversy. And I was really kind of puzzled why there was so much controversy around that. And I guess all you really have to do is read the book, and you'll find that it kind of pushes on some hot issues that people have. And that is, can God really save everybody? Should God really save everybody? And I think just those 2 questions. Can God save everybody? Well, they call God God, don't they? And should God save everybody? Well, you know, in my mind, God can and God should, and God will save everybody. But it's a concept that not everybody agrees with. I think that is what is so compelling within Christendom, is how controversial this is. So the first thing I want you to think about is, why are people so afraid about this new book? Why would they push away from this? You know, Bell opens up this whole book by talking about the fear that people have. Before they've even read the book, they were afraid of it. Why are Christians so afraid of new insights and new ideas? I think as Christians, we would be some of the first people to open ourselves and to embrace new ideas. I mean, aren't you excited about learning? You know, the only time that I was ever terrified of learning something new was when there was a test at the end of it. And maybe there's a test at the end of Christianity. Is that what people are afraid of? That they think there's some kind of test that when they die and they go to heaven, or before they get to heaven, that they have to pass some kind of test? And if they don't pass the test, they go to hell. And if they do pass the test, they go to heaven. And maybe because of that test that they're afraid of new information because they don't want everybody to pass the test. Well, wouldn't it be cool if everybody passed the test? Or wouldn't it even be more exciting if there was no test? You know, that's why I want you to think about the first question is fear. why are Christians so afraid of this book? What part of Christianity are you afraid of? Are you afraid of God? Are you afraid of judgment? Are you afraid of Jesus? Are you afraid of heaven? Are you afraid of hell? You know, really, I think sometimes the only thing that I'm afraid of are other Christians. You know, one of my favorite bumper stickers, it says, you know, I love God, but his fan club scares me. I love Jesus, but his fan club scares me. I think, you know, other Christians and their ugliness, their anger that they put out, their judgmental attitude, you know, that's what scares me. So what part of Christianity scares you? Or more importantly, I guess, you know, the question is, why are Christians afraid of this book? That's the question I want you to answer. Why are Christians afraid of this book? Okay, moving on. The next thing I want you to talk about is toxicity. When has the Christian faith been toxic for you? Rob Bell uses this powerful term, toxic, as it relates to Jesus, to Christianity, and heaven and hell. And when the first time I read it, I thought, wow, what a powerful word to describe Christianity, and how sad a word that we have to use to describe our relationship with Jesus. And he talks about an example of when there was a young man that was killed in a car crash, a high school kid was killed in a car crash. And at his funeral, some Christians went to somebody else who knew the person and said, was this person who died, were they a Christian? And the other person said, no, he told everybody that he was an atheist. And the Christian said, so there's no hope then. And Rob Bell said, no hope? I mean, is that what the good news of Jesus is all about, is no hope? And it, you know, it got me thinking about all the toxic relationships that I've seen, that people have had with Jesus. And the toxic things that other Christians have said to them. Earlier in this week, I taught this class, this first chapter of Love Wins, to our Tuesday morning study. And Marie Schreiber, a member of the class, I asked everybody to kind of share a time when they've had a toxic experience with Jesus or a toxic experience with Christianity. And Marie shared this story with the class that really just kind of blew me away, and I felt embarrassed for Christianity. I felt very sad for Marie and her mother. So be humbled by this story. Maybe Marie, tell me about it.
Well, you heard the story before when my mother was pregnant with little twin girls, and she was in the hospital because pregnancy was coming early. The nun baptized one child because it was still alive. She did not baptize the other one because it wasn't alive. Therefore, she would see one in heaven and she wouldn't see the other one. My mother wept about that for the next 60 years. Mm. And I said, not my God, not my God. They wouldn't do that. I was 12 years old. But it was a major shift in my thinking about my faith.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
You know, that story just amazes me. That actually a nun would actually say that to a mother who had just lost a baby. But I think, you know, I'm hoping that on Facebook, when you start sharing the stories of toxicity, that we'll all be amazed of how could we, who are children of God, followers of Jesus, say these kinds of things to other people, sometimes when they're in most dire situations. So toxicity. The next thing I want you to think about is which Jesus. Rob Bell in this first chapter talks about the fact that people say that you must believe in Jesus and that Jesus will save you. And he presents the whole concept of, well, which Jesus should we follow? Which Jesus should we follow? And when he said that and I started reading through the chapter, I think, you know, that's very profound because, you know, depending upon which type of Christians you run with, they present a different Jesus. You know, sometimes there is an angry Jesus. The people present a Jesus who is angry and judgmental. There's a guilt Jesus. There's a Jesus that people present that makes people feel guilty. There's a shameful Jesus that people present Jesus in such a way that they feel ashamed for who they are. And they think that out of this guilt or anger or shame that somehow it'll motivate people to accept Jesus and then be saved and go to heaven. And that's myself, wow, is that really how we want to present Jesus as somebody who is angry, shameful, guilt-ridden? You know, that's not the Jesus I know, and that's not the Jesus that I follow, and that's not the Jesus that I want you to follow. You know what? I taught the class, as I said, earlier in the week, and one of the things I told them is that Jesus does not save me from my sins. I mean, I don't need a Savior to save me from my sins to reunite me with God, because I don't believe that I've ever been separated from God. And so I don't need an ontological, a metaphysical Savior in this way to bridge the gap between me and God, because as I said, I don't feel any gap. But yet, I told the class, I do believe that Jesus is my Savior. And they kind of looked puzzled. And I said, because, you know, Jesus for me is the enlightened one. Jesus for me is the Son of God, the ultimate reality of who God is, and the ultimate reality of who we can be as human beings. That he was the fullness of divinity realized. And he's my Savior because I believe Jesus shows me how to do that. Jesus shows me how to be compassionate. Jesus shows me how to be loving and caring. Jesus shows me how to interact with God and to be open to the divine everywhere in the world. And that's how Jesus is my Savior. So the third thing that I want you to think about is, which Jesus do you follow? Do you follow an angry Jesus? Do you follow a shameful Jesus? A guilt-ridden Jesus? Do you think we should present Jesus in such a way that this is what motivates people into the hands of God? Which Jesus do you follow? The last thing that I want you to think about is permission. I believe that Rob Bell's book, Love Wins, is giving people a permission to think, a permission to expand, a permission to go beyond what they currently know about Jesus, about God, and about the Christian faith. Permission. You would think that people would want the permission to think like this. And that's why I'm amazed that people are afraid and pushing back. But I want you to think about God giving you permission. What would you do with God's permission? Where would you go? You know, maybe you are standing on the brink of something new and exciting in your life, but you're holding back because you're afraid if you should do this. You're afraid of what people will think. You're afraid of what your family will think. You're afraid of what your spouse will think. You're afraid of what God might think. Well, maybe what this book can do, and this study, and hopefully this virtual class can do, is it'll help you have the permission to let go. To let go and go. To explore something new. To discover some new ideas. Wouldn't that be wonderful? If you could let your soul go. And go anywhere with your thinking, where would you go? If you could question anything about the Christian faith, what would you question? If you could ask me anything that you wanted to, what would you ask? Now think about this one. We often kind of wonder about this when people kind of chat about this, but I really want you to think about, if you had the permission to ask God anything, what would you ask? So there you go. Those are the four things that I want you to wrestle with. Fear. Why are Christians afraid of new ideas? Toxic. When was there a toxic time that you've had an experience with Jesus or with Christianity? Which Jesus do you follow? And permission. What kind of permission do you need in life to let go? Well, there you have it. There's the end of our first virtual class of Columbine United Church, the first chapter from Rob Bell's book, Love Wins. Again, go to Columbine United Church's Facebook page. We're going to create a column for conversations and start interacting with one another, sharing thoughts and ideas, and invite other people to join us in this conversation. So again, thank you for joining us for our first virtual classroom. Bless you. Take care. We'll see you.